Okay. Hi, Ronit. How are you?
Good, Megan. How are you? Good to
I'm
see
doing
you.
well. I'm doing well. Thank you for making the time to talk to me today. This is the Industrial Insights podcast. So my company is called InSoco, Industrial Solutions and Construction, and we
Mhm.
do a little bit of we do a little bit of everything in the industrial space, mostly beverage manufacturing, food and beverage, pharmaceutical. And we're based in South Florida, and we work with a lot of companies around here to make sure that they build out their facilities to help them optimize their facilities to make them understand and leverage the newest and greatest technologies when it comes to these fields. And yeah, we're happy to be here with you today. And I would want you to do a little bit of an introduction for everyone and just say, who you are, where you work, and kind of, what you like doing, whatever you want to do. It's open ended.
Okay. But after I do my introduction, you'll have to tell me why you called your company in
So,
Soko.
yes, of
Okay?
course, of
It,
course.
it cannot be random, right?
No, 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 not at all.
Anyway, my name is Ronit, and I started my career as a scientist. I'm a biochemist. And at a certain point, I realized that I better do focus on stuff that are more related to people and technology. And I stopped doing scientific research. And it was an accident when I participated in an event that presented water technologies. And I heard stuff that I've never heard before. And I actually realized that there is something that's called water treatment and wastewater treatment, and that it's very important. And I also realized that, like myself, many people didn't even know how come that they open the faucet and they have safe drinking water in most parts of the world.
Right.
So I basically fell in love with water treatment. It's super fascinating. It's scientific, it's practical, and it's very, very important. And as you know, no one can live without water. So it gave me a very big sense of accomplishment. And I found myself in this industry learning more and more. And then the company I worked for, Edge Water Technologies, was acquired by Chart Industries. And Chart Industries is as fascinating a company as my previous one was, because we have a CEO. She's a lady, and her name is Jill Ivanko. And she created what we call the Nexus of Clean, which brings together whatever needs to be clean. So, clean industries, clean water, clean wastewater, clean food and beverage, which you're very familiar with.
Yes.
And it's Nexus because it also reminds the Nexus, the energy water Nexus, because these are two huge related topics. So we're dealing with cryogenic, which is the art of cooling different gases to very, very low temperatures in order to be able to deliver them from one place to another and to use them. And now we're in the midst of the hydrogen transition, and which means that we're going to introduce solutions for using hydrogen as an energy source. And we can talk more about it later. And all of this is related to water treatment as well. So I'm living in heaven doing two great stuff that I love to do.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, I mean, what better thing to dedicate your time and resources and life to than something so so necessary and so primal in our way of being and our development and our hygiene and everything we do. I mean, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's
it's really important. You feel,
of course.
there are communities that didn't have access to safe drinking water because of the presence of specific contaminants. It could be anything. It could be nitrate, which is harmful for babies. It could be arsenic, which has cumulative effect on our health. It could be, of course, PFAS, which is an emerging contaminant that is probably very unsafe to drink, but it's found everywhere. So the community, the water treatment communities, is looking for ways to treat it, which we do as well. So it's really super important to health and safety, but it's also important for the economy because you cannot do anything without water, including industrial application. I'm still looking. Actually, I ran a questionnaire among my colleagues. Name one industry that is not using water.
Yeah, it
And
would be
nobody,
impossible.
nobody okay, one person told me about one industry that doesn't use water,
Which one?
which is, he said carpenters do not use water. I don't know if it's
Oh,
true,
okay. I
but
mean, it
the problem,
depends, but I mean, there's definitely need to drink water, so it's
right?
yeah. Unless you have like a fully automated plant that does some type of manufacturing that doesn't require water, and you don't have employees drinking water or washing their hands,
Yeah.
there's no way to get away from it. There's no way to get away from it. So
Safety
I have a
equipment, wash your eyes. Yeah.
right. So I have a question that kind of just comes up randomly right now. I've worked with municipalities on, for example, manufacturing plants. Usually for municipalities, they don't know what's going on. They treat it like a black box, and then whatever comes in, whatever comes out needs to be, satisfy FDA drinking water requirements. How much do you see? Like, do you work a lot with municipalities and cities
Yes.
and counties on
Yes.
developing?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
And
Yeah.
do you see that they're very knowledgeable about water process and water technologies, or they kind of lean on people like you and me that work with different technologies to help satisfy a lot of their problems and solutions?
It's a good question. It really depends. Operators of the water utility are mostly focused on day-to-day operation, and they know that they need to conduct tests, water quality tests, depending on the contaminant. It's all under regulation. Every week, every month, every quarter, and they need to meet the standards or the expected water quality. Some of them cannot. Some of the contaminant cannot exceed a certain concentration in the water. And the second that it happens, like let's say nitrate, they need to handle it. But some others are calculated for others, like arsenic. You're required to meet an average of concentration of arsenic during the year. But most of the treatment processes are very effective, and you as a vendor that provide the solution also commit to the performance of the system.
Sure.
There is another side to it. It's like a triangle. There is the system manufacturer, like us. We're
Yeah.
extremely knowledgeable. We can look at any water quality and come up with a solution because we're familiar with multiple water treatment solution. You never have, especially if you want to be cost effective, or you have a footprint limitation or a regulatory limitation. We have like Lego blocks, and we need to build a treatment train that is most suitable for a certain site. So we bring in the expertise of designing the process, but there are also engineers that work with the municipality, and they work with us to look at what we designed and if it's a good fit. And they're usually more focused on the overall, like civil engineering, or they need to sign the plans and the documents. So they have more responsibility, a different responsibility. But I would say that we're definitely the expert in this triangle of the utility and the operator, the engineer, the consulting engineer, and the vendor like ourselves.
The system
So,
manufacturer. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And like, we worked together briefly on trying to put together a solution for a beverage plant a while back. And I was really intrigued about a lot of the latest efficiencies that you have, for example, with like RO, to try to minimize the reject water that goes into our RO process. That, I mean, that's a huge factor in cost savings and mitigating a lot of issues with the wastewater downstream for the municipalities. So
right, and access to water, you want to draw every drop from the source that you use. But it's not only reverse osmosis. Almost every treatment system can be optimized to achieve the highest recovery and the lowest waste stream. There are some solutions that, like biological treatment, that where you recruit the bacteria to break down the contaminants, and in this case, you really break the contaminant. Other treatment solutions, you separate the contaminant from the water, and then you're stuck with waste stream that you need to handle. So there are ways to handle this waste stream. There are ways to minimal backwash. Backwash is the process where infiltration, you literally generate a backwash instead of coming from the top to the bottom of the vessel. You push water from the bottom of the vessel to the top at very high flow rates in order to fluff up the media and get rid of the contaminants. So there are methods. It's backwash is part of almost every filtration system, almost. But there are ways to collect this backwash water and recover as much as possible from it and put it back at the headworks. So high recovery, low waste is a very, very big mission for a designer of a water treatment system. Absolutely.
Of course. Yeah, I just met an interesting manufacturer here in South Florida. They're canning water right now. They're a water co-packing firm, and but they're starting small. So and I was wondering, hey, I'm looking at, they have an RO system, they have incoming water. They're trying to move to a different facility. It's a good time for them to start looking at these technologies. And I'm wondering, do they have, since they're starting, they're kind of a startup in the industry, do they have the ability to be able to implement a lot of the technologies that you guys offer? Or would this be more for like large, kind of national companies that have the capital expenditure for this type of project?
We're a very large company. You can check the billions range with experience, and I'm president and experience and expertise in designing water treatment system, and usually the sexier side of water quality that you need to treat. Like, people come to us with very challenging water qualities to treat, and that's it complicates our life because you have less standard solutions. On the other hand, it's exactly the expertise that you need. So we do small scale, large scale, and almost every water quality. And I say almost, not because you cannot treat every water quality, but sometimes customers can bring in water quality and they would like to, they're asking for something that in our professional opinion, it doesn't make sense. We will communicate it very clearly. It's not that you don't have a solution, but there is a price, and not necessarily monetary price, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense to do something that customer wants to do. So we have discussions, and we try to find a way to do it.
Yeah, like the middle ground of what they really need versus what they want, right? So
Yeah.
how do you work that? Because a lot of times, and which industry do you think is the most stringent in this aspect of like water treatment? Is it the pharmaceutical industry?
Pharmaceutical, semiconductor, electrolysis for hydrogen production, all of these technologies that require ultra pure water. Literally, you need ultra pure water. So it's the most stringent. If you do not have, you don't want to make injection from water that is not completely pure. If you do not um, uh, treat water to the required purity for electrolysis, then you just don't get the efficiency of the hydrogen production. I'm talking about production of hydrogen by electrolysis, which is basically breaking the water into oxygen and hydrogen. So this is a very delicate process. And of course, semiconductor, you see probably how they all wear protective gear, and they work under situation where the water must be super pure. So yeah.
So
Yeah,
I guess that's my next
yes.
question. Yeah, I haven't really worked with hydrogen when it comes to water. So like I know, for example, the water processes I've worked with, and ultra pure water that you deal with, and wastewater, you deal with, CO2 to treat pH and that type of thing for wastewater, or you're using CO2 in a carbonation process for a carbonated drink, or even nitrogen in some cases for the system and nitrogen dosing. But what applications are you working on right now that are like the latest technology and that bring in that hydrogen part into the mix?
So currently we are working on even further improvement and optimization of our ultra pure water offerings, because this is the feedstock for the electrolyzers. But really, the sky is the limit. We have pipeline with water qualities, and it's not only the water quality that comes in to be treated, it's also the goal of the treatment, what you want to achieve. And it really it depends on the application. You ask what's the most challenging or the hardest, and I mentioned ultra pure water because literally you commit to achieve really, really pure water. But for drinking water, you cannot drink this water. So you have different goals. Or for beverage plant, they have very, you know that, right? Very, very clear treatment goals of TDS and pH. So that's depending on the application, you start from something in order to get to the ultimate treatment goal for the site, for the application.
For the application of water, yeah. But on the hydrogen side, and we were talking about it previously, that you guys are working on some really cool stuff with hydrogen in general and different applications. So is it mostly? So can you talk a little bit about that, of what the latest kind of projects? Obviously, whatever you can talk about, nothing that would be kind of confidential and hasn't come out yet, but something that's coming down the pipeline that would be exciting for, I guess, anyone of engineer like us that's looking at the latest cutting edge technology when it comes to water and hydrogen and cryogenics. What's the latest stuff you guys are working on?
You mentioned the dosers, the nitrogen dosers, and so we can talk about water treatment and energy, and also about optimized beverage plant operation. And in this arena, you have, depending where your beverage plant is located, right? It could be in Arizona, it could be in Michigan, it could be, I don't know, in Hawaii, and you have different water qualities. And you still need to reach very specific water quality and it can be different between different beverages, right? So you have the source water. If it requires any treatment in order to start making the beverage from it, and it doesn't matter what beverage it is, right? Depending, it just, for each site, for each plant, you need different quality for different beverages. So we have more than 25 treatment solutions that we can use in order to get to your desired water quality. But in the process, you also produce wastewater, right? This wastewater many times need to be pre-treated on site in the beverage plant before you're allowed to discharge it to the wastewater treatment plant. Now, the beverage plant pay a lot of money for the incoming water, but also a lot of money for the discharge of the wastewater. So we can help with increasing the recovery of the water treatment. So you need less water and you still have enough for your process. We can also help with the wastewater. If you have high BOD, high strength of wastewater with organic material, we have really outstanding solution. It's a small scale. I call it gadget. It's not the formal way we call it, but it's called SDOX, and you can. It's small scale. It's very effective method of reducing BOD with oxygenation, as opposed to aeration, which is the conventional way to treat wastewater. Right. It is really very cool solution. It's also relatively small, and you can use any existing basin if you have. So if something is not working for you in your wastewater treatment plant on site, we can put this gadget, and basically it takes just a side stream from the wastewater basin, and it's super saturated under pressure with oxygen, not air, oxygen. So you get
Okay.
a 500, 600 ppm of oxygen in this size side stream. Sorry. And then you send this side stream back to the basin. And we showed that the required, even higher than the required or conventional oxygen concentration stays in the water for about 2 weeks. And the system does not just feed oxygen continuously. It monitors the BOD, the organic matter in the wastewater, and the oxygen level. And according to this, it pulls more oxygen. So, and we don't need any aeration. Sorry, of course, you don't need aeration. You don't need any bubbles or to move the water by any way. We just send this side stream and it's working. It's magic.
But
It's
you would
really
need to have, so you would need to add oxygen to your kind of utilities plan, right? Would you need to have like liquid oxygen on site for that to work?
yes, you need the liquid oxygen on site, and it feeds the high pressure system. And that's how you get the super saturating oxygen in the side
Okay.
stream. It's amazing how it works, really. It's really. We also implemented it very successfully in Brazil to treat rivers, to where they discharge raw sewage water. So the rivers have a severe issue of odor, and it's in the middle of the city. And with this system, the fish came back to the water and the odor
Wow.
disappeared. It's really amazing. It's really, this is one of the technologies that I'm like, okay, this is
This
cool.
is this is
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
mean, so I'm from Caracas, Venezuela, and there's a river that flows through the middle of Caracas. That's everybody knows it's just a dirty river, and I mean,
Shame.
if something like that can be, yeah, if something like that can be implemented to that river and brought back some of the life and the fish that come along with it, that would, I mean, and then you're just talking. I'm guessing, obviously, the system is more complex, but you're injecting oxygen in it, and it's doing its thing. Basically, the oxygen is doing its magic. So
Yeah, it's not as complex. It's really doing magic because, in air, you have, usually you aerate the wastewater, aerate, and it's, I think it's 21% oxygen. And here you introduce oxygen, pure oxygen, and it doesn't generate bubbles. One of our top engineers, Billy, calls it DO, dissolved oxygen milk. And he showed me a video, and it does look like a whitish stream going into the basin, and the bacteria love it. It's like a treat for them. It's easy to digest, right? It's not a
right.
gigantic air bubble. And also air goes up, right? When you introduce it to the water, when you have bubbles. But this
Yeah.
is not happening with the oxygen. It's dissolved in the water. It's really fascinating, and we use the same technology to dissolve CO2 in water for pH adjustment, to dissolve ozonation for disinfection. But let's go back to the beverage plant, okay? So we treated the water to the
Okay.
desired quality. We helped with the wastewater. You can treat it partially and then discharge it to the
Yep.
water treatment plant. But you can also reuse it. We have all the technologies that you need to take this treated wastewater and further purify it and put it back in the system and use it on site. Now,
Yeah.
it's not that easy because of regulation, right? It's not still allowed to use reused wastewater for potable use. Although it's happening more and more even in the US. But you can use it to wash the floor. I've been to beverage plant where they wash the floor with water that was treated by reverse osmosis. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. If you have cooling
Yeah.
water, we can recycle it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can feed that through steam generators, right? I mean,
Exactly.
boilers, all
Right.
that stuff, right? So that's awesome. I've done a
Landscape,
little bit of work. Yeah. Well, which one was that?
irrigation, landscape.
Irrigation. Yeah, yeah, for the landscaping. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you're reducing. just efficiency in general, just increasing it as much as possible, so you don't have to dispense so much wastewater to municipalities and over.
And you save money.
Then you save money, of course,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it's
I love
not
that.
enough. We talked about water treatment, about wastewater treatment. We talked about reusing the wastewater, but we can also, if it's a brewery or winery, we can capture the CO2, right?
Right.
In breweries, you have fermentation process. It's high concentration of very pure CO2. So we have a technology that has been implemented in multiple breweries. It captures the CO2 and we liquefy it, and it's being used for storage
Yep.
in the brewery, and they use it for carbonation of the beer. So they own the CO2, right?
Yeah,
They
especially
use the feedstock to make the beer. It's their CO2. They should reuse it.
They should reuse it, of course. And it's hard to find. I mean, I've worked with CO2 in the past, and there's, it's getting more expensive. It's harder to find. If one plant goes down, one regional plant goes down, then there's no CO2 for anyone. So it's really tough. It's really tough to get CO2. So, I mean, and for example, a lot of breweries, you've seen them implement this carbon capture for their process and reuse the CO2. But I mean, is it something that a smaller brewery can actually implement successfully without?
Yes, that's when you talk about craft brewers, there are like 9,000 craft brewers in the US, and usually these are small applications, and that's exactly a good fit for them. It's really, yes, the answer is yes. Depends on how small it is. It's like sometimes even treating water, tiny stream of water doesn't make sense for us to step in. It really depends, but yeah, it's designed for small scale breweries, and we have a few models for larger operations.
Okay.
So wait, we're not done. We have water treatment, wastewater treatment, reuse, carbon capture, and nitrogen dosing, right? When you can your beer or beverage or bottle it. Oh, you know what? If when you manufacture potato chips in a bag, you want to put a tiny dose of nitrogen in order to get rid of the oxygen that is still trapped in your package or beverage. And you also want to create pressure. If it's chips, you don't want the bag to get squished when you mobilize it. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly the same with the bottled water. You can use less plastic if the bottle is rigid. So when you fill the bottle and you put tiny bit of nitrogen, it becomes rigid. You can put, packs or pallets one on top of the other. So look, one side we have so many solutions, and during this energy transition, many of these sites will probably start using hydrogen for their operation, because hydrogen to produce electricity, you use fuel cells. So imagine a huge beverage plant. They have forklifts, right? They have tow tractors. They have trucks. All of these can use hydrogen with fuel cell in order to move without creating carbon footprint. So it's coming there. It's really coming.
That's the other leg, yeah. And I was telling you last time we spoke that working in an automotive for a long time, I always heard that in the background. I mean, I know automotive is pushing a lot for electric, but I heard from seasoned veterans that have been seeing all the different R&D projects through the years for a huge manufacturer, that they were pretty sure that hydrogen is going to be the future of automobiles, because of, electricity still, electric cars are great, but you're still dealing with batteries, you're dealing with lithium, you're dealing with all that, and hydrogen becomes, it's everywhere in our planet, in the universe, and we can capture it, we can use it as a fuel. So why don't we maximize that? I think there's a huge push for electric right now, But I think sooner or later they're going to look back and say, let's work on the hydrogen
It
engine to
depends on
some.
the application again, because for small cars, like family cars, or maybe batteries are a better solution. But when you talk about heavy duty trucks, you need, if you want to go distance, significant distance, without stopping to charge your batteries for 8 hours or even 4 hours, or replace the battery and put a full battery instead. So you can go so far, and the battery is heavy by itself, right? So it adds to the weight. Um, um, uh, um, instead of putting more, boxes or whatever you deliver,
Yeah.
it wastes weight on the batteries. So this is the reason that for heavy duty, the call was made. It's going to be hydrogen. We conducted actually a commercial run of a hydrogen a fueled truck.
Trucks.
And even when
Okay.
you talk fueling trucks with hydrogen, there is a difference whether you fuel it with gaseous hydrogen, like gas form, as opposed to liquid form. In the liquid
Right.
form, the density is so much higher, you can go really far distances. So we could, this truck, which was loaded, it was a commercial run, ran for almost 600 miles without any need to refuel, which
Wow.
is very impressive. Mhm.
And that's amazing because I don't even know. I mean, electric cars are obviously getting pretty efficient right now for mileage, but 600 miles and room for, they haven't, you haven't even done a lot of studies. That's probably a preliminary study of how much it can do. It could probably go up from there. So no,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. There's a
really
lot of
interesting.
R&D. Yeah, and
Good for
the
growth.
fuel tank occupies the same size of the regular tank. I mean, the liquid hydrogen tank. So it doesn't take more room, and yeah, it's very exciting. It is very cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I wanted to take advantage of the time and go back a little bit to the beginning of talk a little bit about career path for you. Just as I know, in my network, there's a lot of young engineers, even people that are starting their engineering journey that are, maybe 1 to 5 to 10 years into their career. And you've seen a lot of things. You went through a merger with a huge company, and now you're handling a lot of these R&D projects. What have you seen as far as like career development in this industry, all the industries that Chart touches in beverage and energy, that you could kind of recommend to a young engineer, like, hey, do this or follow this path to maybe, obviously, we're always going to fall back on, everybody's passion, right? If you're passionate about it, that's where you should probably go. But yeah, no, talk a little bit about your career path, how you got to where you are.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it was a coincidence. I was doing my PhD and I worked as a scientist, and my kids were always the first to be dropped off and the last to be picked up from school, after school care actually. And then we had to move from San Francisco to Atlanta, and I decided to be a stay-at-home mother. And for 2 years. So at the beginning, it was amazing. I cooked and started to paint, and I was a great housekeeper. But when I say beginning, I'm talking about 4 months. And
Right.
then I got the idea, and I'm like, no, I just can't do it. I can't do it. So I started to look for other things to do. So I worked in a telecom company, mm, and then I discovered the water world, which was also related to two of my favorite topics, which is science and chemistry, and also environment. So the
Of course.
biggest thing was the environment, which is also what's so attractive in what we're doing today. And this is definitely any engineering degree that can, first of all, any engineering degree or science degree. I mean, you can start with whatever it does. It's important to go to college, because
course.
That's where you meet people that challenge you a little bit. You learn how to think critically. Critically?
Yeah, you expand your brain. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's the main thing. I think engineering to me what was mostly about, kind of expanding the way I think and challenging myself and seeing how far I can go with,
How
academically
did you?
and yeah,
You did
exactly.
well.
Good.
But,
Thank you.
honest,
But no,
yeah, you're amazing. So actually, even if you learn English literature, okay, you're coping with a lot of reading, analysis, debates. So this is the most important thing, in my opinion, in being in an academic environment. And then life shows that you just said it before. When you're passionate about something, you really could do everything. I know it sounds like old people cliche, but it's true. It's true. People change career path many times, and I can tell you about myself. And you just need to follow what you want to do, and many times you need to learn. And it's not that it's easy. You need to push, and you need to demand, and you need to ask for what you want to do, and you need to learn. To learn, I'm learning every day. Jumping to the hydrogen. I mean, it's a piece of knowledge that I had to complete.
of course, it's a learning curve, and that's one thing I tell a lot of young engineers, that take control of your career. Like, don't, I remember I've been in cases where I'm being kind of voluntold into certain roles that I didn't want to do, because with the promise of upward progression in the corporate ladder. But I think if you have a certain department or a certain niche that you want to play in, or target as far as work, everyone like yourself, I'm sure if someone reached out to you and said, hey, can I have 10 minutes of your time? I want to pick your brain about this industry. And I'm
No
sure there's a
problem.
lot of people, yeah, there's a lot of people that are open to that. And I always put myself open to that, to speak to younger engineers, to just explain what I went through.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's time to give back,
Of
and
course.
it's always everyone is looking for mentorship. It doesn't matter what state of your career you are, and you always need to work with someone that you look up to. That
Yeah,
today's bosses are not to be monsters that tell you what to do, and then it must be a teamwork. And good boss will focus mostly on approving your PTOs and just let you go and do, assuming that you find stuff that you like to do. So it's a very different environment than what it used to be, I don't know, 30 years ago. Um, just nobody will say no to someone who is doing a great job. That's another thing. Just
or someone
don't
that
be.
is curious.
Hmm?
Yeah, or someone that is just curious about what the
Right.
industry or what a company is doing. I think a lot of people are open to that. So
Yeah.
no, thank you so much for putting yourself in that, in that room where that people can reach out to you. It's a lot of people say that, but a lot of people won't give the time to give back. And I think I truly do think that you
No,
would
it's
if someone did that. So
yeah. Hey, you owe
yeah.
me explanation about the name of your company.
So in SoCo, it's just a play with words. It's in industrial solutions and construction. Because
Oh, okay. Nice.
construction, yeah, construction being, one of the base services that we provide, but I don't do residential construction. I want to focus in the industrial field and food and
Very
beverage
good.
and pharmaceutical manufacturing. InSoco is a member of the South Florida Manufacturers Association. We're a member of ABC, the Associates Builders and Contractors. So
Nice.
we like to be in the associations that drive the community and that bring companies to South Florida. I know you're in Atlanta, but
Mhm.
but no, South Florida is growing a ton. I mean, there's a lot of startups coming from South America, from Europe,
Oh,
that they all want to live in Miami because it's Miami. So they whatever they produce in Peru or Poland or Spain, they bring their expertise and their capital here, and they start
oh,
small manufacturing facilities, and then expand from there. So it's an interesting time in Miami, and you wouldn't think it's a hub for manufacturing, especially since like logistically it doesn't
right.
make sense because it's a dead end. But
Yeah,
it's
I just thought that you drink all day and smoke cigars in Miami. and eat Cuban
No,
food.
well, yeah, there's a lot of food. That's true. We eat a lot, but no, I mean, it's really, it's a gateway to Latin America. If you anything you produce in Miami, you can easily distribute to the Caribbean, to Mexico, to
Yeah,
South America, and I think there's going to be a lot of growth here. So I hope
that's
that we can
great.
work together soon on a project. I'm going to
Yeah,
try
we'd love
to
to. We need to talk more in details. But good
for
luck
sure.
to you. You made a huge, great move that requires a lot of brain and courage. So good for you. I'm really happy for you. Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, thank God we're busy, and it's tough transitioning from being a corporate engineer to entrepreneurship in your own company. There's a lot of hats to wear. There's a lot of learning curves. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
love to just do engineering and manufacturing all day, but then I got to do the accounting stuff. I got to do so a lot of things that come into play that that I knew were coming, but it's a challenge.
Yeah,
But we're
it is.
excited. Hopefully, we're going to grow next year. I'm hoping to see if we can bring in a couple of people and to help out with a lot of the administration and even an engineer. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Amazing. That's amazing. You just started. So good luck and happy new year, I guess, right?
Yes. Happy New
Good
Year.
luck.
Enjoy your holidays. Safe
Thank you.
travels.
Thank you
And
very much.
we'll be in touch. We'll be in touch soon. Okay.
Thank you very much. Good luck.
Yeah.
Bye.